All right. Okay, we are live on air. Hello, everybody. Hello to the live viewers, if you're out there, and also hello to everybody that are coming back on Rewind. This is it. We made it. This is the fourth part of the deep dive as we dived and are continuing to dive into the confusion face to face with the confusion. And I'm with the wonderful Shelley Sagehart, of course, because we're in this together. Hey, Shelley.
Hey, Simon. Good morning. Good evening.
Yeah, good morning. Good evening. Exactly. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. So if you're watching this on replay, then underneath the video, there's a couple of links to two songs, one to a bell chant, which is like a 7 or so minute meditation, which we invited some people to listen to tonight. I'm going to play a little cool, funky song now, just to breathe and just tune in for yourself. My suggestion is if you're doing this live, there's a link underneath the video, so you can either just play it yourself, and if you're on replay, then maybe just get the link from the bottom, play it in your own system. If the sound is a little bit, maybe a little bit speakers. So, but I'm going to listen to it. It's a little 5-minute song, and it's just a way of us beginning this evening, this fourth dive, this fourth dialogue, and a way of me also just taking a moment to connect in, breathe, and dive into the conversation. So enjoy. I'm just going to press play. Thank you all for being here. Here we go.
When the sky is falling from above you, and the wind is raging from the coast, and you want someone who truly loves you, I will be the one who loves you the most. Yes. When the masquerades and burlesque balls become too ordinary to boast, you complain about the parade, the curtain call. Oh, I will be the one who loves you the most. Yes, I will be the one who loves you the most. When the women with their stolen graces don't invite you to play host to their daughters with fake faces, I will be the one who loves you the most. Alright. When all the debutantes desert you, all the doorways are all closed, and all the winds have hurt you, I will be the one who feels the most. Alright, I will be the one who loves you. When your shooters sneer and swing beside you, leave you hollow like a ghost, and you just want somebody to confide to. I will be the one who loves you the most. Yes, I will be the one who loves you the most. Yeah. See, when you forgive your imperfections and you've auctioned all your clothes, and you look to see your true reflection, you will be the one who loves you the most. You will be the one who loves you the most. Hey, you will be the one who loves you the most. Yeah. All right. No, no. No, 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 no. All right. Yeah. Yeah. You the most. Yeah.
There you have it. Thank you. Oh, I love just, you know, so often we don't even just take a moment to listen to music. Music's such a beautiful part of our lives and it's everywhere. We just, sometimes we sort of almost tune out to it. We don't actually just, you know, say, what are you doing today? I'm going to sit down and just listen to some music, you know. Not many people do that. So it's lovely just to take a moment and close my eyes and listen to some music. I'm doing like this as if I'm ready for a fight. I'm ready like I'm Bruce Lee. I feel like I need to take a moment before we dive into the planet. You know, this is huge for me because shall I just throw something out there in terms of what's coming up for me in this moment, Sharon, and we'll dive from there, and then you can share where you're at and so on. We'll just, yeah.
Let it roll.
Let it roll. Let it roll. So you know, so we've been on this this month of bringing these conversations to you guys watching, and obviously it's been put beautiful for where me and Shelley are for us to also dive in and interact and connect, and you know, lots has come up for both of us, and you know, and bigger questions and insights and inquiries and challenges and triggers and everything. You know, it's been beautiful, and I think as I was listening to that song, it said, you know, when you get that clear reflection of yourself, you realize that, you know, you're the one that can love you the most. And for me, this idea of community and a new way of connecting with Gaia is really, you know, if I go back, if you guys watching have hopefully watched all 4 parts of this series, or 5 parts, because we did an extra video, then you will know that, you know, my story has been a journey of what I call out of unconsciousness and into consciousness, out of fear into love, out of darkness into light, whatever you want to call it. But rather than playing with those dualities, it's like I didn't even comprehend or have a concept of what it would be like to fall in love with the planet until I fell in love with myself. Some people just love the planet, and that can connect you to a deeper part of yourself. You know, they just have a deeper connection to the planet. People that work in nature or live in nature, or maybe take people out into nature and so on. But, you know, I grew up in the concrete world of, you know, go to town, hang out in towns, hang out in cities and so on. And it's like, so from that place, it was very much, you know, maybe slightly disconnected from nature, or even, you know, using, obviously, I was still part of the planet because the planet is everywhere, but very much just disconnected from nature. And then funny enough, when I had, let's just say I had this peak experience. So, you know, it's been a dance since that really huge peak experience. But when I had that peak experience and fell in love with myself, it naturally connected me to falling in love with life, with the planet. I mean, like deeply, you know, to the point of falling in love with everything, the soil, the insects, the, you know, gravity, the trees, you know, the trees, and just to start to understand what a tree does for us, and how, you know, millions of trees, you know, almost detoxified the planet and now give us oxygen in order for us to even be here. Without the trees, we wouldn't even exist. And so that sort of, that opening, you know, that opening really is what gave me a completely different awareness of what it means to be in connection to the planet as part of the planet, and also what that would then mean to be, you know, to honor that as being part of our community, being, or let's say our home, right? Like planet Earth being our home. And then I think, just to say that, then it's like, obviously I started to see the connection between, which we've spoken a little bit about this throughout the series, this connection of how the body is like a micro of the macro. So I started to have that connection, that the veins and arteries in my body that keep me alive with water running through them, that you could say lead to the ocean of the heart that is pulsating in my body, and then the meniscus discs in my spine, and the water that's needed in the meniscus in my joints, you know, is very, you know, just no different really, just the same, but in a different form of the rivers, the canals, the streams, and, you know, this water that is the arteries and the veins of our planet, which lead out, you know, always lead to the ocean of the planet, which is like the lungs. You know, you take the rainforests and all the forests and the trees and the water as being like the lungs and the heart of the planet. And that, you know, you go and you start to look at the body from a place of nutrition, like I did, you know, being a personal trainer, and honoring the body and looking at the bone structure, which is water, and then looking at how, you know, the muscles are water, and then you start to look at how we're, you know, depending on what statistics you pull up, but 70-80% water, and then the planet is like, you know, however many percent, 80-90% water, and you just start to go, wow, man, you know, this is too crazy to not be totally connected in the way that we are, you know, in tune with the planet. And then you start to go, well, okay, if I dehydrate, I read this amazing book, Shelley, and for the viewers out there, called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And it just blew me away. This doctor was ended up in a prison, and he started to heal people of peptic ulcers and a whole heap of diseases through just giving them water, and realized that they were dehydrated. And most of our dis-ease comes from dehydration. We don't have water, right? And obviously, as we all know, everybody watching, if we go for so long without water, you know, we'd die. We can last, I believe, you know, we can last without food, but we can't last without water, you know. Water is the ultimate sustainer. And yet, then if you just bring that out onto the macro and start to look at beautiful documentaries like Flow for the Love of Water, Blue Gold, many others out there that look at the water and how, you know, some of our hugest, you know, reservoirs, streams, lakes, like all of it is ultimately drying out. So then you have to start to look at, wow, potentially the planet, in the way that it's been abundantly given us this giving, is communicating to us and drying out, you know. And again, it doesn't even matter if you start going too much into, you know, climate change, and then start looking at the conspiracy around that and say, well, it's not, no, it's all just part of it. You just got to look at the amount of times that the planet has wiped itself out, you know, become made species extinct, and then had to reintegrate itself. So I think maybe that's just where I want to start, Shelley, from that place of awareness of just the self-loving action. When you start to honor your body and hydrate your body and look at the world more beautifully, open your eyes, love yourself, honor yourself, and come back to this place of awareness, then for me, that was what just connected me to like, wow, you know, how are we unaware of what's happening to our forests and our coral reefs and our water supply? You know, it's like you just become connected. So I just let you speak to whatever's arising from that space. And just before we do that, I just want to honor everybody that's here with us on this 4-part and say, yeah, just thank you so much for being in this inquiry with us. Because for me, this final one, as we close the circle today, you know, planet Earth, you know, this is planet Earth. I mean, we're in space on a planet, people. You know, however much we need to think, we need to wake up. It's that if you're not acknowledging that day to day, looking at the moon and the sun, you know, without the sun, we can't even live. It's like, let's reconnect to the magnitude of the abundance of what we're getting, and let's get out of this, you know, painful states and suffering and separation and disconnection from that which we are. You know, it's like, why do we go into nature, sit by the sea, go into a forest and feel energized? It's not rocket science, people. You don't need to be spiritually enlightened or sat with a guru for 55 years to understand that we're magnificent beyond measure. It's just like, come on, let's get moving. You know, sometimes I feel like we're still in Groundhog Day a little bit. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's rock and roll.
Thank you, Simon. Totally. Thank you for everything you just shared, and that what you just shared is exactly why I suggested we play that song, because I thought it would be a fun way to bring in that conversation, that like if the conversation of planet as mirror of self and earth as reflection of self. And I'm seeing sort of two streams of that way of thinking. There's the physical body of the planet, so planet as mirror of self, and then there's also the world as mirror of self. So everything that human consciousness is doing on the planet and in its evolution with the planet also being a mirror of self ourselves, when we start to drop in to our own selves. What is that, you know, what is, you know, what we believe about the world, what is that reflecting to us about what we believe about ourselves? And as we deepen in acceptance and self-love for what we discover in our own experience, that also reflects out to how we feel about the planet and the world. And so your inspiration just now at the end of what you shared about, like, come on already, let's reconnect with the planetary body, the earth herself. I feel like that's such an important place to start, because that will give us biological information, living information. So when we step out and we into that, out of our houses, out of our apartments, out of our workplace or whatever, and we begin to connect with the natural world, that naturally within our own systems, our bodies, begins to reestablish that connection. And that's just a way of sharing information. And it is the earth, what's happening on the earth information. And then we're also, when we tune into the moon and the sun and the stars, and we begin to get this sense of, being a human standing on earth, a part of this larger galactic, universal, expansive experience. But but it's, those are related too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Carry on. No, carry on.
I just wanted to say, so today, I've been questioning and reflecting on this theme a lot in the last couple of days, and I've hit some interesting points of sort of not really feeling like I didn't necessarily know what needed to be said today or what wanted to come through. there were some cues or clues that I was in touch with, but I was still very much I'm in the unknown in some ways. And but one thing that I did know that was important before starting the day today was to actually walk out of my house and put my feet in this beautiful, I have a beautiful backyard right now, and there's a beautiful cedar tree growing in the backyard. So I collected some cedar for me to hold and for us to experience today.
No.
So that's how I'm starting the day. And maybe if you have an opportunity at the end of this conversation, just at some point in the day to also walk out of your dwelling and put your feet on the earth and say hi to a few plants and animals around you.
Very nice. Lovely. Yeah, I was just out this afternoon filming a friend of mine, and we're launching a book about healthy eating, and we were contemplating just filming, you know, in a location where we were going to go down by the sea, because we're close to the sea here. And then I was like, he loves climbing, so I said, well, why don't we just film you talking while you're climbing? So we went up to the cliff. It's a vast cliff quite close to us, and I just filmed him talking about his launch of his new healthy book while he's climbing. And we were just on this huge rock, and there's this vast sea. It was beautiful. And you know, sometimes on this journey that I've been on, is that it always comes back to simplicity, and that nature is really trying, for whatever reason, the human mind, whatever reason, the human psyche, for whatever reason, we have disconnected ourselves. You know, there's millions of people out there that live in nature and connect to nature. You know, nature communicates to us. Where have we got most of the wisdom that we get comes from nature. You know, you look at how things grow. I mean, you know, just think about, you know, what I said earlier, the food, all of the food, every single bit of food that you can ever imagine, that you've ever eaten, that's ever been here, grows from the planet. It's like the planet was already giving you that. Whether you're here or not as a human being, you're birthed or not, the planet's continuously, consistently throwing out phenomenal food, nutrients, sustenance, herbs, minerals, vitamins. It's just, it's insane that for some reason, and again, you know, maybe we're speaking to smaller than that number, for whatever reason, we have disconnected from that fact. I mean, not many people in the West. I mean, I read something recently that said that ultimately we're just in the path to extinction, and it just hasn't caught up with the people in the West yet. Yeah, it just hasn't caught up with us. We're just so ignorant to what's happening. We think that we can just continue to, you know, rip out the finite resources and just keep accumulating. And you know, regardless of whether you believe that to be so, regardless if you think that some other new source is going to happen, some other new energy source, whatever, you still have to look at the sheer, you know, suffering that's being created along the way while we ignorantly consume. This is the key about community and the planet Earth for me. It's like, you know, it's just constant taking without honoring. This is the key. It's like, and this has really been a little bit of a through theme of all the conversations, is this idea of just how can we really respect life? That's you know, that's ultimately this is what's coming up for me as we speak. Is like, how can we respect life? Whether it means making love to the woman you're making love, or man, or you're making love to the food you eat, making love to yourself, making love to the planet, making love to the animals, you know, making love to them, you know. It's like honoring them. Like, you know, this idea of honoring is for some reason just, I don't even know. I'm not even going to say that maybe in the past we honored more. Maybe we did. I don't know. I'm here now in the last 38 years, and I don't see much honoring. I don't see many people honoring themselves, and I don't see much honoring of the planet. Yes, there's beautiful people in the world right now. Yes, there's beautiful new communities emerging. Yes, there's beautiful people talking about honoring, but on a mass level, You talk to somebody about honoring and they think you're either spiritual, religious, or new age hippie. Yeah, it's like that's the, you know, that's the sort of brackets you're in. It's like, forget about new age anything, forget about spiritual anything. You're alive. You're just alive. And this planet is abundantly giving you sustenance day in, day out. Without oxygen, you're dead. You can't exist. You know, these are like simple, powerful, you know, things that we don't give a shit. That's the bottom line. It's like, this is the bottom line is we don't give a shit. You say to somebody, listen, man, do you ever contemplate that you're breathing in the oxygen and that oxygen's given to you from this beautiful planet and this thing? Yeah. It's almost like, well, yeah, and my heart beats, great. Why should I celebrate my heart? It beats. Yeah, but have you noticed, you really want to notice something about any human being you meet? This is to everybody that I'm speaking to. On the deathbed, at that moment of death, at that moment when you've got told you've got cancer, you've got diabetes, or you've got osteoporosis, or you've got any form of disease, autoimmune disease, anything, at that point, you contemplate, shit, man, you know, why don't I just like focus a bit more on eating healthy? You know, why don't I take myself out of that shit environment? Why don't I move myself away from them destructive emotions? And then often humans constantly act when it's too late. As that beautiful video that Prince EA that you posted, Shelley, I posted, and, you know, 5 million other people have posted, you know, where he's saying, sorry, you know, sorry that we wasn't aware that we're just sucking the arse out of our planet. You know, I'm going to just quote this before you can speak, Shell, is that, you know, he said in his video, profit above people, greed above need, rule of gold over the golden rule, above the golden rule. You know, we use nature as a credit card. I love this line, man. The guy's spoken word just blows my mind, right? He says, we use nature as a credit card with no spending limit. I mean, hello. It's like, check it out. Overdrafting. This is next level, but sad as well, right? Overdrafting animals to extinction. You know? Who the hell are we human beings thinking that we can just rape and pillage every flipping thing that comes in our way with no honoring or sacredness? It's got to be every human being's mission to wake up and come together, fall in love with ourselves, and realign and rechange. At least give it a attempt before we potentially wipe ourselves out as a species, to at least have some ambition towards doing away with the crap that we've been accepting. It's like our choices allow the companies and organizations to be in power. Our choices allow governments to be in power. This is not blaming anybody. This is time for humans to wake up and say, this is our home. I'll leave you with that, Shelley. You can rock and roll from there. I don't know. I sound like I'm gonna get out the love guns.
So I guess where this conversation sort of winds us back to is that something that has come up for me in every one of our conversations is, what is it that's keeping us from a clear acting in sovereignty in our lives in relationship to what we know is important, right? What are the beliefs or the ideas or the actual physical limitations that make us feel disempowered to really make active change, to change the course of the situation we're in on the planet? What's holding us back? And so that question in and of itself comes up almost in every topic for me, because and this series, the inquiry with you, Simon, has been a discovery to the places where even that sovereignty in my own self is blocked. And what I really hit this week is that the conversation around around planet and the situation that we're in the planet is very, you know, it's kind of a painful conversation when you drop in from the feeling that there's nothing I can do about this, that this is out of my control, and that this is the fault of other people who don't have any connect. You know, it's the others that are disconnected. It's the tyrannical, you know, corporate interests that don't know. It's the ignorance of others that, you know, so there's this underlying conversation that we can be running that's very disempowering, and that disempowering conversation feeds the sense that there's nothing that we can personally do about this, that we don't have a sovereign right to say enough is enough, and that because we're disempowered, we just have to accept the sorrow of the world and kind of go along with things as they are. And that maybe if we do speak up about it, we're considered, you know, a Mother Earth freak, or a, you know, a bleeding heart environmentalist, or some other, like you said, category of whatever. There's like a judgment about it. When the truth is I believe when we start to look at the reality of being human on the planet at this time, and we look at the earth as mirror of self, and we look at the world as mirror of self, this is a common denominator for everyone, no matter whether we're aware of it or not. This is every human, in a sense, on some level or other, is facing this question, this question of, and the feelings, not just the question, but the underlying feelings of, you know, how to relate with the emotional reality that we're in a potentially dire situation, or at least we feel that we're disconnected. We're on a fast train to nowhere. And whether or not we have any kind of say or any sense of empowerment about the situation. So there's a real sense of hopelessness or loss that a lot of people are dealing with, the despair, you know. And I've definitely heard Charles Einstein address this, you know, like the piece of like when we finally get in touch with just how bad off things are, you know, there's a depression that comes over people. There's a despair. And that I would like to suggest, at least in my own experience, that that's kind of like an underlying conversation for me, a sense that the situation that I'm in, even though I do as many things as I can to bring awareness to our ability to reconnect, to honor, you know, to have these kinds of conversations, sometimes that underlying sense of disempowerment is there. And so how do we, you know, I believe that addressing that, at least seeing it, it's like now I'm holding that part of myself. I was like, okay, hi, you know, hi, disempowerment, hi, despair. I see you. I'm not present to you, at least now. There's some relationship to that. So I'd like to just bring us to that point. And I found Joanna Macy's work this week really helpful in that. She talks about embracing the world pain and having a relationship with what is. And I'm just going to share real quick a quote so we can move into exploring this conversation just a little deeper. Active hope is not wishful thinking. Active hope is not waiting to be rescued by some savior. Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life, on whose behalf we can all act. We belong to this world.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah, lovely. And I know there's some more to that text, as we said, and we will post that underneath the video. But it's interesting you bring up Joanna Macy's work, because I've sort of been diving into the messages coming from Charles Eisenstein, as everybody knows. Like, I'm reading his book online as well, the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And Joanna Macy has actually been quite linked with Charles Eisenstein as a messenger of sort of, from a feminine perspective, bringing through the very similar we're all coming from the same field, right? We're all just talking it and expressing it from how we know how. And I think that this desperation is great that we talk about that, because, you know, I dance in that place of self-love. And I read something yesterday about core unworthiness, and something that I'm going to do a talk on Simon on the Sofa on this with Ted Steiner, around heart circles and how to really create spaces for this idea of core unworthiness. Because, you know, we're so debilitated in our unworthiness and thinking that we as individuals are just not worthy of anything really, of, you know, speaking our truth, of creating what we want to create, of living free, of being able to contribute in some way, of being even able to overcome our own individual challenges, you know, whether that be, you know, let's get real here. We're talking about 4 billion people are living on this planet out of 7 in deprivation. So we're not, you know, we're talking big numbers, you know, 1 billion that are starving, you know, that, you know, you got 2 billion, as I've mentioned in other talks, on less than $2 a day. Yeah. So even if you just take into account that if we go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we look at the idea that until you've even potentially got your basic needs met, you can't even get into the space where you can start even allowing your mind to maybe look at your human psyche, or look at where you are as an individual, to even start to ponder or conceive what it might be to self-realize, you know, because your environment is not safe enough to even consider that you're a grand creator of your reality, and that every action and thought and intention that you have is having a ripple effect and impact on the cosmos, you said a lovely word, the galactic, but, you know, on the whole universe. You can't even ponder, you know, when you're starving and you're just trying to get by and survive, you think you've got time, and you've got like 3 children to feed, or you've got to get out to work. You've got time to ponder your contribution to evolution. It's like, you know, and actually we've got this human psyche that has, you know, thousands of years of indoctrinated programs of unworthiness and beliefs that were not ours. So, you know, you're right, we are dealing with that brings up a hell of a lot of challenge, trigger, emotional blocks, emotional challenge. So yeah, we're not talking about light stuff here. We're talking about we're talking about sovereignty, and what does that mean? It's personal liberation, personal realization, self-realization, you know, to even the concept of falling in love with yourself. You know, we spoke about this last night, me and Dara, around, you know, this idea that self-love, right? Self-love is a beautiful thing, but until we can make peace and accept that we have a deep resistance to self-love, until we can even bring that into awareness. And so if we take self-love, then take that to the planet, we have a deep resistance of even being able to love the planet, nature, to acknowledge that, you know. So that's, to even get to that place, to acknowledge that is a far cry, you know. I mean, sometimes in my own personal journey, Shelley, I'm out there going, wow, I don't know if I'm really, and Charles Eisenstein has spoken about this, and many other people on the recent course that I'm on, and I've spoken to Charles myself on this, just around people feeling that they're just not able to do enough. But then if we take into our idea that the morphogenesis is in place, and morphogenesis, you probably know, you may have read a little bit about, Shelley, is this idea that even the little things that we do are having a huge impact. So the person that's doing permaculture, for example, and thinking that, you know, they're on their own, but they're turning their garden into a permaculture oasis, for example. You know, they might feel, well, you know, I'm not really out there, you know, flying the flag, or, you know, I'm not speaking on the main stages, or I'm not in government, or I don't have a charity organization, or whatever. That's irrelevant. The question is how can maybe this is what's coming through now, Shelley, you can speak to this, but through that deprivation, and tonight's about community and how we do have an impact, is that let's look at which permaculture does this for us. It's like think global, act local. So from a morphogenesis perspective, the little things that we're doing just on a day-to-day level, if that's how you're being with your partner in relationship, how you're consciously parenting, how the choices that you're making with your foods, etc., all of these are already creating the more beautiful world right now. So I don't know, I throw that out there for us.
Yeah, there were a lot of pieces that came through in what you just shared, and I love that we're coming around to that we, you know, what blocks us from feeling that our contribution matters. So and then coming back around to that our contribution does matter. That there's even a tendency in our society to think that the people that are you know, have the biggest mailing lists and have the most coverage visually and publicly are making the biggest difference. And that's sort of a societal belief, right? That
right.
I feel in some ways isn't serving us, because it takes us more and more into what kind of difference can we make technologically, and sometimes out of our gardens, for example. I believe
right.
that what we do in our gardens and how we are with the earth when we walk on her, how we pay attention to what is around us in nature and how we relate with the elements, has tremendous impact in the way in which the earth actually feels that we as human beings, you know, that we as her children are noticing her, that we're aware, that we're in relationship. There's a living, breathing, symbiotic, connective relationship. We're not just in a human-made, you know, world of fame and creation and technology. Yes, that's going on, but the bottom line is there's that, you know, the common denominator is our interconnection. And so part of what I feel is keeping us from a full sovereign experience on the planet collectively is our tendency to move away from, you know, understanding the importance and the value in our direct connection, the value of showing up, you know, in relationship to the planet, in relationship to who is directly physically in our life, and sharing love and making connection and building, you know, bridges of biological, relational growth and evolution. So that's one of the things is the human tendency to get caught up in a lot of story outside of what our direct experience is. And so that's a potent learning journey in and of itself, you know, just coming back down to what's really basic, what's really true, you know, where do we love ourselves? Do we love our environment? Do we love the people that we're in community with? And you're right, Simon, you know, the fact that we even get to do this kind of exploration together and be here sharing today is a very much, you know, we're in a position of privilege in a sense that we get to explore these territories, and we're not entirely in survival mode. And so, you know, with that, there's an understanding that we have there's a great responsibility to find out exactly who we are and to bring that forth in the best way possible. Because, you know, for me, I see it as like I'm in a position where I actually get to do that. And I first got in touch with that, interestingly enough. My ex-husband and I in our early, maybe mid-20s were gifted a trip to Nepal. And at the time we thought that we would maybe just live in Nepal for the rest of our lives. We wanted to live where there were no roads and where we could live close to the earth. And we had a really powerful idealistic attitude that maybe, you know, somewhere where, you know, deep in the mountains of the Himalayas, we could finally, you know, leave society behind and live the life that we felt was the most in alignment for the planet. And while we were on that journey hiking in the Himalayas, we began to discover more and more the reality of our situation as Western, as you know, a Western couple hiking in the Himalayas. And oh, and the other part of the story is we didn't have any money. So, but when we told the Nepalese people that we didn't have money, they didn't believe us. Yeah, and so it started to dawn on us just what an incredible responsibility we had as Western, you know, Western people to actually use the tools and resources that were available to us to engage our world, to, you know, use our privilege in a sense to become the best that we could be and the best vehicles for communication about our ideals and about the things that we knew would be good for the planet. And my life since that point has really been a continuum of, you know, learning how to be more of myself in a good way in the world, and also at the same time getting more and more involved with technology. So I think we're at this powerful juncture, right? Where like we're using technology to help us expand that connectively expanding consciousness that you referred to. I can't remember the name. Did you call it the field?
Which one? The morphogenesis, the morphogenetic field?
Yeah, the morphogenesis that we're involved in. We're using technology for that. But I would like to suggest that the morphogenesis also occurs in the way that we are connected with the planet. It's a planetary experience, and so that's so important to bring, you know, ourselves back into relationship with her.
Yeah.
And so, and then to explore what is blocking that, what, you know, what is in our way from reawakening that connection, and be willing to come back into harmonious connection. And again, that's why I feel that last week's conversation around conscious childbirth and healing birth trauma and some of that is so related, because I really feel like that's the pathway to helping the next generations have a more direct connection. And the trauma work really helps us as individuals weave those connections. And so
there's juice there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You know, there's a lot, but I'm again, for you guys watching, hey, whoever's out there, you're watching us, we're listening to you, you're listening to us, we're all the same. You know, no, I want to say, because, you know, as you're talking, there's so many beautiful seeds. I've had so many conversations now, and different people bring through little different seeds of what's happening. And, you know, I want to just tune in and just say, there is amazing things happening right now on this planet. You know, humans are, if you think about the 100th monkey concept, if you think about how the ripple effect works, if you think about how, you know, we can just put our energy and thoughts and intentions out there, and that has a ripple effect on, you know, if you think of the work of Lynn McTaggart and Bruce Lipton and you know, just there's so many people out there, Stephen Jenkinson, Charles Eisenstein, Joanna Macy. I mean, it's endless. I'm meeting Polly Higgins is coming to Malta in a couple of weeks. She's working on the law against ecocide. I mean, you know, it is just humans are coming together. So I think that, you know, the key, you know, whether we wipe out or not, you know, we have a mass amount of awareness, mass amount of intelligence. And I think that what's being called right now is it's almost like there's a calling. And lots of people have spoken about calling for a long time. I remember when I met you in 2012, I was in California, Mount Shasta, and we actually called the trip a retreat was called The Calling, right? So this idea of being a calling, it's not like something new. It's been thousands of years. Some people get a calling or not, and that calling calls them inside themselves. And then you sort of become a conduit or healing balm for the suffering that takes place within yourself and on the planet. You know, when you start to talk about this energy of love, let's just call it love, then love leads the way. You know, this idea that love leads the way is that you become this alchemical shift in in energy. So for me, it's like a passion and almost like an ambition. It's serving something greater than myself that gives me drive. For whatever reason, I'm on this planet at a time when, you know, so much truth, if you want to call it truth, let's call it truth, is coming through because of the internet. You know, it's seeping through on all levels, you know, and so some people talk about this time being a time of darkness, a time of ignorance, and that we're just moving through a phase. If you was alive when the great wars were on and the world wars and so on, and the plagues and all that, and if you was alive then you might say, well, these people were thinking they had it bad and they were doing the best they can, and like, you know, now we're facing whatever trials and tribulations that we have as a generation. And within that, there seems to be, for me anyway, the way that I perceive this reality is there does seem to be a duty. There seems to be a duty that wants to communicate, that wants to come through. This idea of, you know, not lying anymore, you know, telling the truth is something that came through me. This idea of transparent communication. These conversations I've been having, over 100 or more now, Simon on the Sofa birthed out of me just having to film these conversations because I didn't know what else to do. I just knew that conversations like these, the ones that I was having with my brother and my family and some close-knit friends, were just so supportive and liberating for myself that I was like, because I was an actor and had been acting for a number of years, I was like, well, I need to film these and just put them out there. And if I look at my journey on Simon on the Sofa, you know, the vulnerability and the confusion and the uncertainty and being told so many different things and different beliefs of, you know, you get thrown around left, right, and center. You know, you just get thrown around, you know, like you get just taken, you know, I thought I had some clarity and then all of a sudden I just got thrown into the washing machine of uncertainty, right? It's like, yeah, okay, you think you know something. Hey, come on this ride, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like slapping me, you know, slapping me up, consciously slapping me up, philosophically slapping me up, psychologically slapping me up, emotionally slapping me up. So you know, I know if I'm getting lost here on Fred, but there's something that I wanted to share just from that place of that the almost like there's like in great chaos, you know, in great chaos, I think the saying is in great chaos, a star is born or a new star is born. And I feel anyway, depending on where you are, you watching on this, wherever you are on this personal journey, this is, you know, these are called face-to-face with the confusion. I don't want to be here saying I know the answer or have the way, because I get caught in society's traps, financial traps. I get caught in doing things that I feel I have to do in order to survive and get by, and it pulls me away sometimes from what I feel I should be doing or is more aligned to maybe what I would like to be doing. And then I also get pulled into this idea of needing success and recognition and having to have products to sell to make money in this society that's been built on the foundation of fear and separation and lack. And you know, so I'm in between those stories big time. And, you know, I'm rooting for and living in this moment to the best of my ability, what it means for me to show up as a man, a being, and live more consciously in a beautiful world, to create a beautiful world now in my home, with Shelley, with you guys watching, in these conversations, in the way that I speak to people and look at people and talk to people, and I choose to compost or read about permaculture. You know, these are the little things that I'm trying to do. And I do feel, I think, yeah, just, I feel that we're powerful. I feel that human beings are just so powerful, and that if we can embrace this idea of unity and collaboration and coming together, just something I found so difficult and still do. Everyone's in fear of coming together. I mean, even when you go out in nature, you know, sometimes nature's scary. You don't know what's out there. I get scared of little bugs that come and attack me. I can't cope with them. I'm like, hey, I can't even deal with a little bug. Put me out on a vision quest for bloody half a day and I'll probably pass out. If I see a lizard, listen, if I see a lizard, I'm all over the place. Lizard, you know? Ask me to hold a spider. You know what I mean? I'm almost like concrete institutionalized. But anyway, I'll leave us there.
It's funny because there's a spider right now, kind of like walking towards me. I'm like,
oh God! I thought you was going to say walking towards me for a minute.
No, not you, me. So I was wondering if we could talk a little bit more just about community, because
please.
I think like what you said, we have tremendous potential and yet it's still scary. How do we really enter into community? And it's been really my life's work. I actually was raised for the first 7 years of my life in a community, and it kind of an intentional community that was sort of farm-based and small business-based in the health food industry. And that really created a blueprint for me of what is possible. I didn't even have any kind of real contact with the regular everyday world of like 7-Elevens and movies and grocery stores and all that until I was about 8 years old. I didn't go to public school. I had an experience growing up that was much more connective to the land in an environment where the adults around me were working together to meet the needs of the community. And so, you know, me and the other children were co-schooled by someone else in the community that was a teacher, and we went on field trips together, and we lived together, and we ate together, and the adults, you know, meditated together, and that was the environment that I knew to be what was normal reality until we left the commune and I came out into the, quote, what I called the regular world, the world of everyday, you know, 9 to 5, 2-car garage kind of world. And I had to go to public school. And at that time as a child, I remember feeling very different from everyone else and very much more freed up and like connected to a sense of sovereignty, where, you know, and that was my first experience of being institutionalized, being in public school, having to walk in a line, put my head on the desk, you know, that whole trip. Whereas my experience before was I lived in nature. Nature was my playmate, my inspiration. I talked to plants and, you know, waded in creeks and, you know, crushed up rocks and I was having an experience with nature. So my whole life, you know, has been this journey of, I've been longing to come back to that kind of a container for the expression of my life. And in that process, it's been, you know, it's been about relationship. Whoever I'm in relationship with, we've been hashing out and working on how, you know, what is it that, you know, brings us closer and more able to cooperate and be in resonance and harmonic relating in order to create. And usually what the thing that's been interesting in life so far is that a lot of time when we actually consciously come together to do that work, it creates, you know, things get triggered. The things that need healing show themselves. We talked about that in the beginning around, you know, when we come into powerful relationship, we think it's going to be all fine and dandy, you know, that it's going to match our romantic expectation. And so we're shocked and surprised when the relationship starts triggering our stuff. Yeah. And so that's been a similar experience with community. I mean, for me, even just working with you, Simon, this is an experiment in co-creative community. This is like, can Simon on the sofa in Malta bridge with Shelley in Mount Shasta, California, and do a project together over a 4-week period without getting so triggered that you know, the container blows up and we go our separate ways and prove that, you know, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So this was challenging for me, and this is my work. This is what I love. I bring my love to this co-creation with you, and I've been triggered, and I'm learning and growing in this, under this, you know, the pressure cooker that this is. And so I think one of the challenges that people face when they say, oh, we want to come together in community, right? And we have these ideas and we want to create an eco village, or we're going to do it different, or we're going to start a corporation that's not, you know, based on profit, or whatever that might be. That we've been in a kind of a period of idealism, but few people are really coming from a fundamental place of having a direct blueprint of community, or having healed birth trauma, or, you know what I mean? We're coming from our ideals into these situations. And so the mirror that we're getting from world and from others is that there's a lot of stuff, you know, we're seeing the impacts of our ignorance. We're seeing the impacts of our confusion. And so it's sort of like right now, like you said, we're in this, you know, we have in the chaos, in this moment of like, will the species survive? Will we, you know, I'm really questioning seriously. I'm like, I don't know that we're going to get it together and apply these cool new technologies and create a beautiful world. Like, I'm seriously, based on what my experience has been in the last 15 years, thinking we were headed in towards this emergent, you know, healthy new way of being with the planet. I haven't seen it. It feels more confusing, more disconnected, more tied into technology, less connected to the earth. More in the last 5 years, we've become more and more aware of the chemicals in our food system and being sprayed, and the, you know, so it's like now all that's on the table, kind of more and more. We're like, there's funky stuff in our way.
There's funky stuff. There's some funky paradoxes going on, and there's some funky dodgy moves going on on this planet as well.
Yeah, some funky dance.
But you know, but go on, because I want to throw something in there to ask you. But carry on, go carry on.
Okay, so I just want to say, you know, I'm sitting here today, you know, in the conversation of community and how that relates to, can we move forward in a new way of life with Gaia? And I feel like we're in a kind of pressure cooker right now. It's that pressure cooker, you know, is that pressure cooker preparing us to make bold new shifts in the way we relate together and the way we do things in relationship with the planet? Or are we just, are we in the pressure cooker where we accept that maybe, you know, maybe we're not going to, those things aren't going to happen?
Yeah, it's a great, yeah, how'd you finish? Shall I speak to that? We'll speak to what I was going to mention, Awesome. It's so, you know, I really, you know, this for me, again, is the deeper inquiry, because I think that this is a powerful, I look at a lot of people out there, you know, who may be classed as being at the forefront of speakers, etc. right now. And, you know, a lot of them are, this is what the topics are, you know, what's the evolutionary impulse? Where are we right now? Where's evolution taking us? What's it communicating to us? You know, as I mentioned on one of the last talks, you've got artificial intelligence. You've got, you know, on one level, you see communities like, you know, there's hundreds of communities now out there where, you know, where humans have taken themselves either off grid or out of society as we know it, stopped paying tax, stopped upholding the society, you know, the societies as we see in the institutions, and you're seeing that birthing, but you're also seeing the divide in that. And then, like you said, they're trying different communities. Like I went to one, you know, just a crazy little one in London, and a lot of people still send me messages from that video I created where, you know, and they're just so abusive. But, you know, you should see how humans interact with humans sometimes. We humans, I mean, I don't know if anybody abusive will watch this video, but human beings, you need to just ease up on other human beings. We are so violently aggressive and abusive to one another. I mean, you only have to look at the sheer abuse that gets taken on comment threads and threads. I mean, no wonder nobody wants to go out there and share what they want to share in the world. I mean, I look at some of the comments, it makes me laugh because I don't personalize anything. So I'm in quite a liberated state from that place, you know, but sometimes you have to laugh at them. You go, did people really just say that to that other person that they don't know, they've never met, they have no clue who they are, and they're just like, yeah, stupid, you idiot, your views stink, you know what I mean? Or like swearing on YouTube, like, what do these people think they are? They're just slums, hippies, get a job, piss off, you know? You're like, dude, man, it's like they're just, you know, it's like, just chill out. People are just trying to like explore new ways of being, and yeah, okay, it goes against the system sometimes, and the system goes against living anyway. But anyway, coming back to the point is that I created this video about these people in London that were just trying to take over a piece of land, and we're talking about society, and yeah, from the outside looking in, it looks bloody dirty and messy, but then you go around the world now and there's so many other pockets of communities that have started to open, and you look at maybe the New Earth Project or New Earth Nation, and you look at Tamira and what's the other one, Damanhor, and you know there's huge, and there's other Tibetan and even, you know, other certain religious communities that have been around for years, you know. But the thing that I'm noticing, Shelley, is I was watching a video, actually Ian Mackenzie's going out to Tamira to do a video, as I sent you the other day. And Ian Mackenzie, if anybody watching this doesn't know, is wonderful filmmaker, but he's more of he's got a great voice. I'm not going to say an activist because I don't like pigeonholing him, but he's just a voice out there. And he sat with me on the side on the sofa. You guys can watch that one. And he creates great videos. He makes a lot of Charles Eisenstein videos and Stephen Jenkinson videos. And he's such a great storyteller in the way he uses video to share narrative. And he's doing a quest at the moment on, you know, real love and community. And he's traveling out with his friend to do a piece on Tamira. And Tamira's been going for 35 years. And they were birthed in a community 35 years ago. So I think sometimes we need to have there's this dance, Shelley, what's coming up for me, as much as my beautiful woman is measuring herself with a weird, like, measuring her waist here. I don't know what she's up to. And I'm like looking to my side, just so you guys know, watching my eyes are maybe going a bit weird. My beautiful woman here, measuring her pudding. I'm like, what's she doing with this tape measure? And I got a little bit distracted, so I do apologize. And she looks at me and I look at her like, that's cool, yeah, awesome. She's obviously not listening to what I've got to say, isn't it? It's like, I'm obviously boring. But just coming back to the, I'm in Malta, and there's like a beautiful community vibe in Malta. There's a beautiful network of people that are just, you know, they share and they come together, and, you know, and it's an open environment. But this, you know, you still feel the constant stepping back of people who, you know, maybe because some of them still drink alcohol a little bit, or maybe smoke a bit of marijuana. Then there's like, whoa, they might be hippies, or they're not really community. And then you might have other people that are still caught in their own judgment of like, can I safely take myself out of the banking system or not use money? What other modalities are there? You've got Peter Joseph, did a wonderful interview on London Real recently around that communities are really finding a way, and whatever community you're in right now, whatever you're exploring, then just know that the way is coming through us. There's no right way at the moment, clearly, because otherwise there would be some sort of functioning thing that's in there. But the dominating society is still, even though it's, if you listen to some of the people out there, and if you look at yourself, even though it's crumbling, the walls that have upheld us for so long are maybe not seen as crumbling from a lot of places. So people don't know how to act. But at some point, and I'm just being a bit optimistic here for you, Shelley, because you said that even with your, you know, many years of even being in community and not seeing it on a maybe a mass level, is that there's the potential of this. And again, and so many people have been talking about the tipping point, so I don't want to get caught on the tipping point. Everyone's like, the tipping point, the tipping point. Man, when is it going to tip? Please, somebody tip. You know, it's like we've been talking about this for 2,000 years. Where's the tipping point? You know, there's been communities out there, but still we're in this society. Which is the way out? Tip, God damn it, tip. But I want to just say, as there, you know, it takes the courageous heart, the brave soul, those willing to just push the boundaries, push the invisible prison walls, that I call them, the invisible prison walls of our mind. And that when one's community functions and falls into place with maybe 0 point energy, you know, we 0 point the energy, 0 point the currency. There's new currencies merging right now. There's new ways of coming together and being. There really is, if we can really hold fast the vision of what it means in ourselves as individuals to come together in community, to let down our fear and let down our judgment and separation, and really soften and open, and, you know, open to the potential of what it would feel like to be supported in the way that maybe we get a tiny bit supported sometimes in groups or smaller communities, or maybe in our close-knit family or circles. Like, you know, how that micro and macro, again, I keep coming back to that point, is really, you know, is really showing up right now. And I just want to say one other thing before you talk to any of that, because I got a little bit, tiny bit distracted. But I don't want to just be airy fairy and say that it's all happening. Like, no, you know, sometimes, like, as I said before, I question what I'm doing fully in that space, and maybe I'm not living in community. And maybe, Shelley, you just have to take yourself out and go and get in, not you, but I'm saying this to me and anybody else, and go and just live it and be it. And from the being of it, you're in it, and that's the reality, that's the dimension you're living in. Mm-hmm. But alongside that, we feel very, well, I'm speaking for myself, very controlled and dictated to by the forces of, you know, even if you want to just look at the way that cities are being built still, or like I read this information on Nestle the other day, and I told you about this, and how, you know, Nestle, let me just I just want to read this, because, you know, it's like Nestle, look, according to NASA's new report, California only has enough water to get it through the next year. People are under strict water saving measures. Farmers are struggling to keep their crops alive. Yet Nestle is bottling water from at least 10 natural springs throughout California, including from some of the most drought-stricken areas of the state, and selling it for profit. In places like Sacramento, it's paying less than 0.14 dollars per gallon. This is bananas. This is crazy. And then it was said that the founder or the owner of Nestle said that it's not humans' right to have water, you know, to have, you know, free flowing water, right? And it comes back to what I said at the beginning, that we are water. This planet is 90% water. And then for whatever reason, and, you know, many people have different views, dark forces, dark energy, other beings, other planets, you know, other beings on other planets, something's, you know, controlling this from maybe a conspiratorial perspective. But is it just the deep-rooted, like, unconscious psyche, what I call the pain body, the shadow, what some would call the devil, if you're in religious terms, that's controlling, you know, some people's need for control and domination and power and money, and that blinds us and makes us numb? And are we up against that when you think that this planet is, you know, nobody owns this planet? Human beings came here or arrived here, born here, whatever. If we go back to how we don't even know how we got here, because it can't have been from monkeys, because there's still monkeys on the planet, and they're not turning into humans, right? So the whole thing is that what is, you know, this is I'm going into this as we speak, so I just want to try to clarify this. We have that dance of what is possible, but they're controlled and dictated by so much what seems like controlling factors that some of us are so numb and desensitized by and don't know a way out. Maybe that's, you know, that's where the confusion arises. And then the fear of, you know, whether it be climate change or the water drought or, you know, everything being controlled and dominated by a certain, you know, certain people also creates atrophy in the individual, and we become we become numb and we become hypnotized in our own delusion. I'm going to leave it there. I don't know, I got a bit lost there, but you know.
Okay, no, that was perfect. Thank you for bringing us exactly to that point, because that was what I was going to kind of address next, which is, I mean, you pretty much covered the gamut of like all, you know, just now in your download, all the different beliefs that we have and the confusion that we're in. There's so much story available to us now, and so much story that we can cycle on a personal, individual level about what's happening on the planet, why it is the way that it is, and why we're personally limited in what we can create and do because of all these beliefs we have, all these ideas, even the belief that if we just focus on something, the positive things we want to create, like, you know, that term, it's all good, you know, and so some people are going around going, well, we're just creating the more beautiful, all good world. I don't want to hear about any of this other stuff. It's not in my paradigm. You know, I've left that paradigm. And so, and I know what I'm tracking inside myself, there's a little bit of both going on. There's yes, 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 and yes to everything you just said. And there's yes, I choose to focus my attention and energy in a paradigm of renewal, or a paradigm of, yes, we are learning to evolve and create a sacred resonant vibration with the planet. And there's another experience that I'm having, which is I feel disempowered to fully make the changes that I want to see happen, that there's structures in place, be they, you know, albeit they're probably crumbling around me, that are challenging me daily to really, that's the other kind of thing that the pickle that I see that we're in the Western world right now. And I want to specifically even kind of speak to California, you know, West Coast culture in a sense in America, is there's such a strong, you know, meme of consciousness that sort of says, well, we are the cutting edge of evolution, you know, and everybody's sort of going around optimistically trying to bring in the new era, but we're all pretty much still struggling with some basic issues of needing to make money in order to pay rent and get food and like get the basics covered. Right. And a lot of people are pretending that that's not like what's driving us, you know. Right. So I think there's something that I would like to see happen in the conversation in the coming months and years around, let's get really real with each other about the fact that sovereignty means taking sovereign responsibility for our resources, but not like just as an individual, like just don't think that well, maybe I can buy a land and then plant a garden and figure out how to sovereignly survive through the coming changes. It's like sovereignty means that we wake up sovereignly as individuals, and then we support each other to grow sovereignly in community, to express our basic needs, and you know, and so that we can evolve as a society, because together we're finding ways to meet that pyramid of needs. You know, that we recognize that, and it's not a like, well, I'll just climb up on your shoulder and position myself so, you know, I have the resources to have the experience that I'm, you know, in a more beautiful world. It's like all that's got to break, that way of being that has been the, you know, engagement of our current society. those things do have to break down. They have to crumble. And there is a great need to get in touch. I'm not saying wallow or dwell in it, but get in touch with just how bad off things are. You know, for me personally, I have to admit, like, oh my God, life is challenging to survive, you know, despite my optimism and my hope and my commitment to certain things. It's like I struggle just to make a living, to get my basic needs. And I'm facing like the least of it on the planet, you know.
Right.
It would help. It would help me to know that I was intimately linked with other people who shared the same commitment and optimism and love for the planet, and the same kind of you know, willingness to move ahead in realism. Yeah. And to move ahead with and so I think I'm addressing, like, let's get out of our idealism about how this thing is going to turn around, and find, you know, clear pathways. And that's why these conversations are important to me, Simon, is because some of the territory that we've covered around each of this is the, you know, it's like it also comes, this is the human experience.
Yeah.
And the human experience is mirroring the world experience, and the world experience is mirroring our individual dance. And exactly. And we need to learn to do this together.
Yeah, it's like as you were speaking. Sorry, did I talk over you then?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, as you were speaking, it was just like this. Yeah, these conversations are awesome because you get to dissect and you get to like explore and you see it. And a couple of things flashing through my head is a question that I want to say to the viewers watching, and you know, is that when, you know, I've never been about just, you know, posting facts of suffering and pain and, you know, this, that, and the other, and putting statistics out and facts out, because, you know, I love facts, but also facts are still perspectives of different places and so on. And I also want to acknowledge that death is part of life, and we have to face death. And until we can really face death in this present moment, in my experience of living, you can't live. You know, I'm dying every moment, and mine and Shelley's existence and everybody listening on here is a very tiny speck in the grand scheme of things when we look at time and whatever, even if we bring the concept of time into this. But regardless of that, you know, what does it really mean? You know, does anybody consider, are we educating this? I think, you know, more and more we're trying to educate children in a new way. But while there's still people holding on to their beliefs so strongly, which uphold certain society, it's often like I feel sometimes a couple of generations have to die out, and then there's going to be a completely new wave of information that's allowed to come through. And as you were speaking, this idea of togetherness, and again, Ian McKenzie did a great talk called the Noosphere. And if you haven't seen it, go to the TED Talks and just type in Ian McKenzie Noosphere. It's a 12-minute talk, and it talks about where we are from the if I remember rightly, the geosphere, the biosphere, and the noosphere, if I've got them in the right order, and how the noosphere right now is really birthing through the planet, regardless of if I die today or Shelley leaves or whatever, the planet is calling out for its own cleansing, this idea of unity, coming together, collaboration. It's almost like Shelley just said, if you listen to what this planet is trying to communicate, because we are the planet, what's trying to be communicated is that if we don't come together, it clearly isn't working. Like, you have to ask yourself, if 40 football fields, the size of 40 football fields, are dying, are being ripped out every minute from the rainforest, if 50% of all the trees that are on this planet have gone in the last 100 years, if you just contemplate that we're losing the forests, which are the lungs of our planet, whichever way you want to look at, we just come back to this just a few facts. We're losing a forest area the size of New York City every 48 hours. Just contemplate that for a minute. So in the next 2 sleeps that we have, 469 miles square have been ripped down, right? And we can't plant trees fast enough to counteract that. Now, I don't know if, that's meant to happen. That's part of evolution. We just meant to wipe the trees out, and the trees will regenerate. They will sort themselves out because they're going to start growing faster, because after the 100 years of ripping them all out, they're going to grow faster because that's how evolution is. I do feel that evolution is taking us, you know, if you want to say that this planet's been here for billions of years, billions upon billions of years, it's not that me, Shelley, and everybody else, you know, we're the ones at the forefront. You know, I'm not coming from that place of ego, like I must save the world, we must save the world. But I'm just trying to get into context on a very, I grew up on a council estate, guys. I'm trying to connect us in to a very simplified way of looking at life. You know, are our actions wiping us out? Are our actions of ignorance and unawareness killing us? You know, we potentially won't have any fish in the sea by 2045. Now, I'm not playing the fear game here. I'm not saying, oh, I'm cool. I know I'm going to die. You know, if I die tomorrow because I have a freak accident or I get a disease, I'm dying. This society is awesome in terms of how we have also maintained life, you know. There's great people in this world, scientists, neuroscientists, amazing beings that have kept life going, you know. We have cures for so much disease. We have technology already that can regenerate things. We can stop ripping the forest tomorrow, not in 15 years when we've raised 60 billion pounds from humans and money, that the humans created the money. I'm on about, we have the capacity to look at the problem and actually resolve it. I, on my own, can't, but we as a collective can. So, you know, this is, I don't know, talk to that a bit, Shelley, because that's where I'm trying to bring this back to, on a ground level of like, you know, where we at, you know, okay, the ice caps are mounting, rivers, seas are rising, whatever. If the planet itself just wipes us out for whatever reason, fair enough. But, you know, if we're part of the planet, what's our contribution, guys? You know, can we all stand, like that beautiful talk from Prince here, can we all stand for trees not being wiped out? Because maybe it is causing some serious problem with our carbon and our environments. Can we stop this competing with each other and making out we're not, even though we might be spiritual, but really we're still trying to get extra sales, extra YouTube hits, and trying to get people to buy us into our marketing funnel so that we can make money just to survive? I know we need to survive, but could that also be the wrong way that we're going about it? Could we be coming together? Yeah, could we be coming together in a different way of co-creating, which supports and sustains us all, so that, like Shelley says, she's not on her own, or we're not on our own, thinking we have to do this all on our own. So shit, we need to compete with everyone. Right.
So that's part of a system that we're all still deeply involved in, but is sort of, it's limiting until we find creative ways to move beyond it. It's limiting how effective we are in our message of co-creation. Like you said, it's like if we're all in competition because of our needs to survive, to get our personal message out in the forefront about how we're going to do it, that's not really collaborative, really interactive, co-creative creation. It's just more of the same. And one of the things I just want to take it back, everything you've just brought back to a really personal level, which is the more I sort of leaned into what today's topic was going to be and felt into like what's coming through here? What's the vibration or the message? And I noticed that there was a quality, even though this conversation is my deepest love, my greatest passion, and even the piece around community is really a big part of my life's work. What I noticed is there was an element of myself that wanted to keep checking out. I wanted to distract. I couldn't really connect to the collective, like, are we evolving, or are we on a, are we on a ship train, or, it's like, I didn't want to connect with any of, like, everything that you just brought up. It's like, I'm like, yeah, it's there. But like, I wanted to emotionally distract myself from what that was, really making me face. And part of it is like, part of what the whole conversation is making me face is like, wow, there's sorrow, grief, despondency, the need to distract, the need to like just totally put the whole conversation down because I've got graphic design work to do, and I've got to do my work and to make a living, right? I can't worry about the fucking rainforest. I'm sorry. I've got graphic design work to do. That's Shelley's reality. It's like, so, and then what is graphic design work often doing? It's I actually ignore my body. I sit for hours at the computer, creating on my computer so I can eat and have shelter. And sometimes I do that for hours, the impact that has on my body, and I don't have enough for both shelter and food. I just have enough for rent, and maybe food has to wait, or maybe I buy food and I don't have shelter.
Right. Beautiful.
Anyway,
listen, no, but beautiful.
Challenging. Okay.
Go on. No, go on.
So just that's me being really transparent about how challenging that is. And I know some people are really, they're finding ways to overcome their personal beliefs around economics and make them, be more loving to themselves and make a successful economic reality. And at the same time, I feel like a lot of those systems and that way of thinking, they're still they're addressing the fact that we're in this collective agreement field around money and like you said, that the reality that we're overspending on our account with Mother Earth, right? We're over already. The system is taxed, and so the fact if we discover creative ways to bring in resources or not, we're still overtaxing the biological bank account. Right. And so I think we're faced with I feel that we're faced with the deeper reality that all, success and fame and figuring out how to become more abundant and all of that is not really going to do any of us good if we're not really if we're not really allowing ourselves to really move through the territories of what we're really facing on the planet, and then really soften into a truly compassionate, co-creative mind state where we get more interested. Like for me this month, this was a choice, right? Like to make this video series with you, Simon. I'm more interested in creating something that's collaborative and evolutionary than dwelling too much on my personal economic situation.
Yeah.
And that takes courage. That takes a lot of courage. This is not about furthering my, my systems for bringing in financial abundance. This is about hopefully how we can do it different for the future generations.
Yeah, but this is a really amazing. First of all, just want to breathe that in, because that you really honoring the transparency there. And I'm really, like you said, it's beautiful how the dance of this conversation has really brought it back to self, because I just don't cut that whole talk of if you don't have any money, then you're dealing with, you know, psychological, spiritual pain. And I'm trust me, I grew up in lack. You know, I know that I've got conditioning around lack, right? But it's also part of an old narrative. I mean, I was a burglar, a criminal. I've stolen more things than most people have ever possessed. You know, I understand, you know, it's like, I understand, you know, the concept of what it means to be in that, just that survival mentality of like needing money to survive. But it's a real, what you've touched on here is really rich, because there's a real subtlety that everybody is still caught. Just because I was a criminal and I was supposedly stealing this stuff, this stealing is still going on. This pillaging is going on. This competitive nature of the, I need more for me is less for you. I need more in order to sort myself out. I'm abundant when I've got, you know, money. There's money and enough for everyone. We really have to get clear on a few things, that in this old economic state, whether you go and read Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein, whether you go and look at the Zeitgeist movement, whether you go and look at Thrive, the documentary, whether you go and look at any number, go and look at the economic hitmen, go and really look at the monetary system, the Federal Reserve, go and really explore the credit card scams and the small print around mortgages. Really educate yourself in this area, and then talk about whether you've got a lack mentality program or just an unworthiness program. Because ultimately, when you have that awareness, then you just need to look at why, you know, what you need and what you need to earn and what you need in order to still play the game of the old economy, the old system, but in order to sustain you to move into this more co-creative, collaborative way. I understand there's a transition. I'm in it. I've been dancing it for 7 years. I mean, 2011, I was stone cold broke. I had to put a message out to the people on my newsletter on Simon on the Sofa. I was in despair. My previous relationship was such a challenge because of financial struggle. I was trying to make it in this world of, moving into this world of spreading love and awareness, and then realizing, well, shit, I have to market this and monetize this. And then you've got other people out there doing it and saying, well, you know, if you don't make money, you know, you got some sort of spiritual challenge and struggle. You're obviously doing something wrong. Yeah, clearly you are doing something wrong. You're not playing the consumerism, competitiveness, materialism, marketing round. It's a dance. You know, I'm still in it now. You know, the content that you and I have created in this last month, there's some people, and this is not that they shouldn't be doing this, they're charging money for that. This is an online course. This is great content that can be charged money for. I'm not disputing that, but there's something very true to my heart, is that these dialogues, these inquiries, it's not that you and I shouldn't have money and we shouldn't be sustained, and that money can come from different places and support can come from different places. But there's always been this thing that there's so many people out there in the world that wouldn't even consider paying for these conversations, wouldn't even, because they're not even out of that place of survival mentality where they think they've even got enough money. And then you've got some people on certain levels saying, well, that's because they don't value themselves, and that if they really wanted something, they would go and get the money. If they really wanted it, they would find the money, because they would do whatever they need to do. Yeah, you know what they do to get it? They compete and challenge and go crazy to play the same energy out to try and create something. This isn't solving the root problem, you know? This is why why are we ripping? You've got to check this out. Why are we ripping out and poisoning our oceans? Why are we ripping out? I don't understand. It's so that we can progress and evolve. It's for money. We have to get clear on this. It's not to say that money is bad. Money's just paper. But we are doing most of the competing. War is about money. I mean, go and look at the economic hitmen. You know, look up John. Is it John? Not John Harris. Anyway, look up economic hitmen. Right. This stuff is out there. You know, the armory, military. What is the military about? Money. The billions of pounds put into military to kill people daily. that if that money was even put into nature, resources, supporting the billions of us that are maybe needing sanitation and clean drinking water, or thinking about free energy, or how to evolve our minds and come together in conscious realities of the potential of our creative expression. I mean, we can't comprehend what is possible with our species. I hope we don't die out before we realize our creative potential when we unify ourselves. So I'm gonna throw that in there for now. I mean, I'm buzzing, but I know we're gonna take some questions. We're rolling, man. We need 2 hours. This is Planet Earth talk. Yeah, rock and roll with this.
I know. It's interesting because the conversation around money and survival, it's such a potent, rich arena. It's sort of the backdrop for everything in a sense. And so it's like once we hash this out, the next question that comes up for me is, so what is there beyond defining our lives based on economic competition, pressure, overuse of resource? Like, how do we actually define worth in terms of how the soul wants to express itself in the world, and how the world soul wants to express herself as a living being? And so that's why again and again my conversation wants to turn towards sovereignty. It's like, let's recognize that the earth and her resources in and of herself is a sovereign being. Let's honor, and let's honor what a forest is. Like, comes back around to what you said. Let's honor what a river is, what the oceans are. Let's recognize their sovereignty. Let's recognize our individual sovereignty. Let's understand once we move through the territory of that we feel deeply unworthy, let's discover our sovereign worth. Let's come from that place, and then let's create that together. What can we create together beyond the stories that are currently driving our way of being? And can we create something that is more harmonic with the planet, more harmonic with each other, more harmonic with the environment, and continue to have our needs met in beautiful ways? I believe that by cooperating, we actually discover that we have more time to grow in evolution, and that we have more of our needs met. I've been to many communities that just the one fact of growing food together in their gardens and in their farming efforts have an abundance of beautiful, healthy, nutritious food. That's one example. But it also encourages people to really get in touch with what is our unique contribution or expression, not what we think we have to do for money, but what do we feel as sovereign individuals to contribute. And we find that if we come out of competition, there's so many amazing avenues for collaboration that it's fun, it's buzzes, there's beauty.
Yeah.
But that's gonna take some softening into knowing ourselves. And
go on.
Oh, I want to just bring up one quick point that for me about the way that we're running our energy currently isn't working. And the perfect analogy or example for me is what happens when we spray Roundup on the earth. People have told me since I became aware of Roundup in the Hawaiian Islands that it doesn't actually do any harm when you spray Roundup. Well, my experience is that I actually have a relationship with living, like with plants. Like I say hi to them and they say hi to me. There's a sense of biological communication that happens between the living world and my living system. And what happens is that when Roundup is sprayed in an area on the earth, there's just nothing living there anymore. The soil dies.
Yeah, and just tell people, just for people watching that may have never heard of Roundup, just explain that's the pesticide and stuff.
Oh, okay. So Roundup is actually an herbicide that is sprayed to prevent the growth of plants along roadsides. It's sold in common hardware stores or garden supply stores to kill dandelions or weeds that you don't want in your yard. But what it actually does, especially if it's sprayed like in large amounts along the sides of roads, which is common everywhere now. I don't know about in Europe, but in America, it's almost like that we have like an addictive attachment to how quickly it spreads death, is how I see it. It's obvious to me. That's the point I want to make. I don't really want to get too into why it's so bad, but it's obvious to me that when you spray that stuff on the ground, the life force of the earth, the soil, and the plant life, the biological expression of the mother, is wiped out. And that's the same thing. You do clear cuts, whatever. If you do practices to the earth that wipe out her vitality, there's a direct, inarguable effect if you're sensitive, if you're paying attention. And to me, that is so obvious. That's such an obvious example that if we continue running our energy the way we've been running it, we're in danger. That's like a pretty straightforward, just sort of example. There's a small example for world problems.
Yeah, and there's, again, as you're speaking, there are people communicating solutions now to a lot of what me and Shelley have been speaking about tonight and diving into. And I've mentioned the New Earth Project a few times, but there's Sasha Stone and a number of other people out there that are exploring new ways of us being together. And even in the mainstream, even if you think of Russell Brand and you think of other people from meditators, and there's so many people out there that are bringing in new ways of us being being and experiencing the human experience, right? It's like, I just want to go on.
I want to stop you because yes, there are other amazing people doing amazing projects, and it's so important to educate ourselves on the work of what other people are doing. But I want to really just grab you in the moment and grab us as whoever is listening to this conversation, and remind us that it's not really about the other people out there that are doing the changes in the projects, that ultimately we've got to find these pathways inside of ourselves and our significant relationships and in our communities, and let the outside and creators and formers and big shakers and movers to sort of be like guiding lights. But it's not just enough for Russell Brand to get up and do his thing, right? It's like we got to do that same work that Russell Brand represents. We got to do that for ourselves.
Right.
So sorry if that was a
No, don't say sorry, because that's actually was what I was going to say. I was going to say no, it's beautiful. You expressed it beautifully. What I was going to say is that there's these people out there, but don't just use them as, like what Charles Eisenstein always says, stand on their shoulders. Don't stand there putting them on the pedestal going, oh, Russell Brand's amazing, and I'm just going to watch his show now for the rest of the week, but sit at home and keep going to the job I hate, keep eating the food that's got chemicals in, and support GMO. It's like, no, we have to act. You look up GMOs, spend your time researching food, say no to things that literally, if you don't want to research something, you don't want to watch all the hours of content that I might have watched or other people have watched, you don't want to go and spend your time researching, then make conscious decisions based on your own truth, right?
Right, and also I'd like to add your own feeling. What feels good to you? Allow your biological, intuitive system to inform you in new ways. Right,
so then that's again connecting to maybe, which this is a hard process, right? This is hard. I'm not, again, for people watching, I'm not saying this is easy, especially if you like some of the stuff you're even hearing me or Shell talk about tonight. It's just like already too far out. You might have never even heard of the damn noosphere or, any of it. Morphogenesis might sound like a new language, down in the corner of Pennsylvania. I don't know. I'm just throwing some things out there, right? The point is I'm out there, guys. I'm just doing the same, and I'm just researching, looking, spending my life checking in, connecting, seeing what different ways there are. I mean, only in the last couple of years I started to connect to what it means to really feel. So, you know, just take small steps, but like becoming aware. Your body knows, your body's communicating to you. If you close your eyes, if you just close your eyes and scan your body. I do this. We was doing this the other day. It's so powerful. If you just close your eyes and scan your whole body, meaning like, I don't mean go and get the scanner, plug it in and sit on it. I'm on about like internally go through your whole body. You will find, like right now, I've got this pain in my shoulder. I mentioned this to you guys before. This communicating to me. You know, often I've just ignored it. It's been saying to me, don't do this, don't do that. You're sitting wrong in the position. Stop using the keyboard the way you are. Your angle's at the wrong, your angle of your arm is at the wrong way. You know, you need to get some healing on it. You need to get some therapy on it. Maybe it's because you're holding too much weight of the world on your shoulders. You know, you need to look at what's the emotional connection. Is it to do with your stress? You know, the body, the arm is communicating to me. Often what it is that we're blocking off the communication from ourselves because we've become numb and desensitized. And then we're not able to connect to the planet. You know, when people talk of the winds talking to them, or the planets, or you know, nature, plants, like Shelley just said, the plants, all this is where we've softened and become sensitive, really deeply sensitive to our senses and our interconnectedness with all things. You know, this is there for everybody. This is not like, again, you don't have to go and do some. Sorry, go on, speak, Shelley, go on, say.
Say that kind of communication with nature, it's not like a magical power that some people have and others don't. It's really, in a sense, our birthright to be sensitive enough to be in a biological relationship with other biological life.
Right, and I would throw in there and say, well, actually, that is magic, and it is magical. And it's there for everybody to be that magical and to connect to that magnificence and the vastness of who we are as the planet. You are the planet. You are the planet. Just, you know, call yourself Planet if you want. Change your name. You know, change your name. When people say, "Hey, what's your name?" Say, "I'm Planet, man. I'm the planet." What do you mean? What do you mean? What's my name? If people say, "Hey, I say, what do you mean? I'm nature. I'm nature." I'm like, I'm natural. You know, when I sometimes say to people like natural nature, what's your natural state? You know, your natural nature. It's the same word. You know, it's like your you know, come back to your natural state. This is, you know, this is a reconnection. And I suppose one more thing, we see if there's anybody still with us that wants to ask a question. but it's hard out there, you know. I want to just acknowledge that again. You know how hard it has been for me to like disconnect from the need for fame, fortune, recognition, to be somebody in the world, to be a part of this society that I thought was what life was about, to be number one, to be the best, to own the most, you know, deeply rooted programs. Like somebody's striving right now and have been working for 15 years, 20 years, 5 years, 7 years, doesn't matter the time, on something they believed that they really wanted to become because that was going to give them meaning. I don't want to take that away from you and say, you shouldn't go for that now. You need to start looking into deforestation and you need to save some trees, right? But paradoxically, alongside that, I'm saying if the trees and all of the environment wipes out, what use is your degree? What use is your striving to be this person that you think you really need to be when there isn't an environment for you to be that in? Whereas, what about if we reconnect to our true nature, reconnect to who we are, and then create from that place of being in harmony to what is, you know, harmonizing to what is. You know, I always say to people, as Joseph Campbell did, follow your bliss. Me and my partner last night, we were speaking about, you know, what would it be like for everybody to follow their bliss? If everybody was following their bliss, that would be amazing. That's a beautiful expression. But what if your bliss is that you just want to own loads of money and just be a competitive person that wants to outrun everybody and wipe people out along the way because that's your drive? You think that's your bliss. See, these are like intricate inquiries into what it really means. I think what Shelley's pointed to tonight is that when we're in our sovereignty, when we're in our bliss, when we're in our true abundance, when we're in true self-love, nothing gets harmed. Everyone is supported. Everything is harmonizing. Yeah, just ponder that for a moment. If we've got 4 billion of our family members, our human species, 4 billion of them in deprivation, being wiped out daily through lack of resources or food or water, what does that say about the other so-called maybe 2 or 3 billion who seem to think that they've got it all abundant and life is great? For example, I'm throwing these numbers out there. Is that real harmony? Yeah? Is that real togetherness? Is that real unity? Is that real, you know, taking care of yourself so you can take care of others? Is that putting the face mask, the gas mask on yourself first so you can be a saving body, a healing balm for your family and close loved ones? Can we expand our awareness further than just our loved partners or family? Can we go into our town, our community, our whole country, and then into other countries? Can we move all this racism and separation and prejudiceness, and can we just eradicate that, eradicate borders? You know, are we able to do this? Because we've acquiesced and said yes to the invisible walls. Can we come together to say no to the invisible walls of separation? So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with what it means to be in community and planet. I am not living in a community. I'm trying to be more community minded. I'm collaborating. This is the first time I've collaborated with somebody like Shelley in this way to bring you guys this. I'm trying to be a conscious guardian for the child that I'm with right now. You know, it's like I'm there too in this. I have fears of, you know, can I just go and jump in community tomorrow? Everyone's in different places and so on. So trust me, we're all in this together. And when we come from that place and let down our idea that we need to know or we've got it all sorted out, if we can just come from that place, we don't know, but you know what, I'm here willing to explore what it means to unite and collaborate and unify. Now and then we're talking, and at least then we're giving it a go.
Yeah, and again, there's an element of, you know, the individual not needing, but the potential to move into an owning relationship with our despondency. You know, the more your conversation just now expanded out into the reality of, you know, the entire world, like all the issues that we face as the world. I was feeling myself, my consciousness, like, okay, can I expand that big? You know, it's like, is my heart big enough? My awareness just in this moment in conversation with Simon big enough to even embrace the word, you know, did you say 4 billion people in deprivation? You know, what does that mean, 4 billion? You know, like, how could, you know, Shelley Sageheart be responsible for the well-being of 4 billion people?
Yeah.
You know, what is she going to do about it? Like, am I big enough to like embrace? And it's like, and the beauty, right, is like, in the moment, maybe the only tools I have are like heartfulness, compassion, the willingness to at least hear the numbers and contemplate what it means. And then the truth is that the beauty is that it's not up to any just one individual of us. Like, not one of us is going to be the savior, and stop waiting for someone else to be the savior. You know, start finding that place inside ourselves that just naturally is willing to relate with what is, and then to cultivate love and relationship from that place. That's all.
Yeah,
I was kind of where I'm at. It's like all we you know, really it just comes back to we got to work with what we've got, be loving and honest and real in the circumstances that we're in, but not be blind. Not like it's time to wake up out of the numbing, the collective numb to the world's pain. And that doesn't mean wallow, but it means be aware.
Yeah, I'm very glad. I love the dynamic that we have, because I'm glad, you know, what you just said again. I'm not saying, you know, I went through the whole taking the world on my shoulders. I'm definitely not coming from that place now, but it's, if we become more aware and stop lying and start loving just in ourselves, we really are. If you want to look at, like, you know, this is evidence, if you want evidence, scientific fact now, that how we are as a living emanation, electromagnetic field of expression, how our energy field hits out and connects to other energy fields in the heart field. If you look up Lynn McTaggart work, again, Bruce Lipton's work, look at the electromagnetic field, look up HeartMath, heartmath.com, I think, or .org. Look at what the heart is doing and how it's communicating. You just do the work with yourself. This is why it's such a beautiful tool. It's actually a lot simpler than you think. I'm not telling you to go out and you have to go and build wells and go and help everybody. If you do the inner work, if you do the inner transformational work, you will just naturally be helping everybody else. And like Shelley said, not from a place of atrophy and denial and thinking that, oh, if I sit over here and I just project prayers and law of attraction. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying do the work for yourself, and you will see that will ripple out. It will transform you dramatically. It will put you where you need to be. It will give you support. It will give you guidance. It will give you great connections to beautiful people. Like it's funny, I'm just going to say this. I might not be living in community, but the people around me, the friends I have, and you know who you are out there, and the interactions I have, it feels like there's a global community going on. It really does. You know, I feel supported. I mean, like I said, I probably wouldn't last long in nature if you kicked me out there tomorrow on my own. I'd probably have to phone my friend Pepe or phone somebody and say, guys, man, what plants can I eat again? And, you know, I'd need some advice, but at least I can even the fact that I think I can call somebody is a good step. Like, you know, at least I can ask somebody in my close-knit circle that, like, hey, man, you know, what do I need to do to survive?
Yeah.
You know, that's a stepping stone. So I'm just going to check over somewhere. It's like I'm buzzed up on this conversation. I feel like there's going to be more coming out of this. I feel like, whoa, it's such a juicy conversation, because I was thinking about, anyway, yeah. Let me just go and see if we got anybody even with us, man. It's probably like passed out. I'm over here. Got my fellow. Okay, we've got Muktali with us. Nobody's really left. Okay. One thing that always resonates with me is the concept of time. If Mother Earth has been around for billions of years. Okay, this is from Eldon. Hey, Eldon, you're out there if you're still with us. I'll read this because it's lovely. One thing that always resonates with me is the concept of time. If Mother Earth has been around for billions of years and us humans only here for a few thousand, we may well be destroying the planet as it is. But is this also part of the grandest plan? Are we meant to do this so that whatever the next evolution of Earth or humans can then take over? Are we not still looking at this all from a place of ego if we think it's up to us? here and now in this time to save the world. Surely Gaia has been through trouble before and moved forward. And I know Alden watching, hey Alden, you've put just a thought, but it's not just a thought, it's a great, great point, because I just throw some things into that, and then Shelley can speak to that too, because I think me and Shelley have spoken to this personally a little bit as well. It's like I'm massively get caught up sometimes in between this idea of ego, I'm going to save the world, you know, yeah, just everything you just said, Alden, basically. And, you know, it's a question that I've asked myself always, like, who am I? Who am I to think that I'm having an impact on evolution? But then what's interesting is that, is what you've just said, Alden, which is beautiful, is that coming from the little me, the victim, this fragment of ourselves that thinks that we're not connected to the whole or part of the whole, you know, from that separate self? You know, is it that actually we are influencing, and we have been clearly influencing, but in our ignorance and not aware of the impact that we were having on our resources, the planet, and so on? You know, I have no clue what happened to the dinosaurs. I have no clue what happened to past ancestors, all of them. Civilizations have wiped themselves out. Are we an intelligent species that the planet, which is part of us, wants to birth something new for us, which is this more beautiful world? What about the flip side of that, where we can be creatively come together and create this beautiful, harmonious, and again, it's not even just about being utopian and there's never, you know, no war, etc. But is it, you know, is that what the planet's asking? Why are these conversations coming through us? Are they just ego? And also, is the ego, is that idea of ego, or the unhealthy ego or healthy ego? That's a whole nother conversation, because are we trying to get rid of our ego? Don't we need our ego? Doesn't our ego drive us? You know, so, you know, it's that dance between, again, getting clear on what these things mean, and just to throw it out there, you know, that can also take us into questioning, you know, we are questioning everything. So, you know, why are these thought patterns and these intellectual conversations, why are they birthing? Where did the psychology come from? Why, you know, where did this idea of evolution come from, and so on? Is this just is this just the human inquiry, you know? And I can't say that, you know, I pretty much am certain that the planet will wipe us out as a species. I think sometimes where I come from is, if I have a choice, which it seems I have conscious choice, it seems I have a choice. It seems I have a choice to be, to choose wholesomeness. Yeah, it seems I have a choice to choose something that's wholesome or something that's not wholesome. It seems I have a choice to shut the door in somebody's face or hold it open and see their smile. It seems I have a choice whether I throw plastic into the sea, or if when I'm down the beach, I pick up plastic and put it in the recycling bin. It seems I have a choice if I want to compost my food so there's not so much waste, or if I want to just throw my waste out there and just let it just be taken care of by people who I don't know about. It seems I have a choice if I want to put out good, positive vibrations into the world and serve the next generation so they don't be so delusional, in my perception of delusional, or if I just continue to just ignorantly abuse and take what I want and don't give a care about others. And I could go on and on and on with these different choices. And again, as me and Shelley said, we're the privileged. If we're even in this place of contemplation, what does that say about where we are as individuals? So great contribution, Alden, as always, and thank you for being here. And I'll let Shelley speak to that as well, but rock and roll.
Yeah, thank you, Eldon. That was a beautiful inquiry, and thank you, Simon, for everything that just rolled out with that. And I had a really interesting response to that question, which is, I was like, wow, okay, now beyond the 4 billion suffering, in this moment I'm being asked, can my consciousness embrace the fact that the span of time that I know of as human time is is a brief blink in the eye of planetary time, and can I expand my awareness in this moment to understand the bigger picture, the continuum of evolution that has been the planet's journey? And is the planet headed somewhere into an evolution that even we don't understand? And are we on that journey with her? You know, and some people say there's all kinds of theories and ideas and beliefs that people have about that. But I think it's the beauty in this moment for me is like, what does that mean? What is evolution mean now in this moment? Because this is the moment that we have really to do the evolving, is the moment that we're in which the question of the evolution is occurring. And that becomes, that becomes a continuum throughout all time. It's like we're all that we're really doing here is we're sort of working with our vibration. That's part of what's happening in conversation. It's not beyond the words that we're saying to each other, beyond the mental concepts that we're relaying. Part of what we're doing, Simon, is we're just working with our vibration to create something resonant that can leave an imprint or insight. Like I remember originally when we talked about doing these talks, we were actually coming together in these conversations to be an epicenter of evolving consciousness, a resonant epicenter. So we're vibration. When we start to expand and we get into the conversation of like the bigger picture of the planet and time and what's really going on, it becomes very much more a vibrational conversation. I personally have had experiences of feeling like I've been on the planet for every cycle, or I've ridden every wave of Gaia's birth, or, there's other people that have those memories. There's other people that read things and understand things and believe things about that. We all have our vibrational connection to the planetary truth, to the cosmic galactic truth. We have the ability to tap in. That's our other innate right as sovereign humans, is to tap in and know for ourselves, and to even invent and create our own mythology around what's happening. So on that level, I also went from the real expansive to the really finite experience of like, well, if a child was listening to us right now and we asked the child, what is evolution? Why are you here? What's that? Is there evolution? Or even like, is there, if we asked a child, like, is Mother Earth headed somewhere? Their answer would be coming most likely not based on everything that they've been told. They haven't seen all the videos and read all the books and heard all the downloads you and I've been exposed to. They're going to tell us their honest impression in the moment based on how they feel, most likely.
Yeah.
And so that just puts things in perspective too. It's like, we can't define evolution by just one perspective, or one collectively agreed upon perspective even. It's an exponentially evolving experience that every single one of us has the opportunity. We have the innate sovereign right to tap in and know for ourselves. And then, like you said, that I'll bring it back around to the choice making, to come into loving, if we want. I want to bring it into loving, conscious, co-creative choice making that supports just a good way of being on the planet. Like the other piece, I've been talking a lot about this with my partner, is that, why do we do what we do? Maybe we don't do what we do to save the world. We do what we do in the world so that we can have a good life. Like, we can feel good. We can be present in our lives in a way that feels good. There can be resonance, there can be healing, there can be awareness, there can be acceptance, there can be the balm of compassion that spreads out and informs our life. Because our life is just a momentary, like you said, Simon, it's that momentary, you know, blip of, you know, a blip of information in the planetary records.
Right.
And so if anything, like especially because I think we're probably coming to a good place to close our series now in the next couple minutes, is really, again, I just want to address that this is our, you know, this has been a experience in our lives, a month-long commitment in the lives of those of you who've been tracking with us and who will watch this content in the future. This is a moment in which we have an opportunity to create a vibration of relating and anchoring some kind of continuum of resonance as we work together in this series. And that's just an imprint. You know, that's an imprint in the planetary field more than anything else. There's videos, there's words, there's conversation, there's visuals.
Right.
But there's something else more essential. And so just want to honor that as we, you know, as we move towards closure in our conversations, is what an honor, despite all the triggers and the tumultuousness and the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings and the exchange of ideas. For me, it's like when it comes down to it, it's an honor to just show up to this experience and share. Yeah,
you know,
and I want to thank you, Simon. You're an amazing friend and an amazing co-creator, and such an honor to take this journey with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think what Eldon sparked and what came out there from yourself, and also just to, I think that's lovely that this imprint that we're leaving. I think that was, if we think of cause and effect, as you were speaking, I was just thinking that, yeah, just to have a choice that we naturally just want to, or I do anyway, and I feel want to just leave or live in a beautiful imprint of, you know, knowing that my actions are just, you know, supportive and creating a beautiful resonance or harmony in the world, and having the choice to do that. And like you wonderfully said, is that, you know, the amount of information out there and where we can explore. What's great about this inquiry is that whatever it does for me or what it does for you, is I think it enables you, the viewers who are with us still, and again, we watch this, is to just dissect all of this. And if that means stripping it away and letting it go, and, you know, because there's so many different views and opinions out there in the world, but if we can, if we get to the point where it's like, wow, you know, all of that means absolutely nothing, and I can let that go, and I can just live from this place that feels, you know, incongruent and whatever, again, because, you know, there's a way of stripping away even the meanings and the words, like Shelley said, coming back just to frequency, just to vibration. And if you come back to that place in stillness, even in silence, but connect to there, you know, even if it brings you back to silence, and there's a sense of beingness that emerges, or sensitivity that arises from that place. Again, there's no outcomes. Me and Shelley didn't come together to give any fixed outcomes, but just at this point in time, as you were speaking, Shelley, you said about this, like this now moment. And if we just take out the concept of time. So let's pretend there is no time. There is no linear idea of a beginning and an end. It's just this mass of creation, constant creation. Then we are here, like Shelley said. This is creation manifesting itself through us right this second. And here it is. Look at it. Don't see me as Simon. Here it is. rock and roll. This is creation expressing itself, as Shelley has done so beautifully with me throughout this this month. So yeah, it feels a great place to close the circle. We could dissect and go, I know, and I'm buzzed up, and we've gone, you know, we've gone for 2.5 hours almost. And, you know, I just want to say to you guys, the one, you know, for you that has followed all talks, you've got to this point, and you, if you've just come and watched this now, thank you. That's just thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. You know, thank you for co-creating this experience, because me and Shelley have put this out there in our vulnerability and our own inquiry. Shelley and I are inquiring in this stuff. This is where we are. If it resonates with you, it's because you're also in that space, in that frequency, in that dimension, inquiring with us. And so, if anything, I would say, if you did feel like this, you might not, but if you did, you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. And there's other beautiful, unique individuals out there, also in this same space, inquiring what it means to be human. And, you know, who knows? We may never get any answers. There may be no real, you know, there's no end point. There may be no real clarity of what needs to come through, but you will know that. I wrote a post today about, you will know what's true for you. You know, if that means diving into the grief, the embracing the death, whatever, letting go, finding peace, doing as Shelley said, just coming into that place of love for you and the space that you're in, whatever it is for you, that's just awesome. Because for me, I know that this space that I'm in now feels more real, more truthful, more meaningful, more profound, more beautiful than any other point along the journey. And that's where I just started to just inquire into what it means. What does truth mean? What does this love mean? And what does it mean to come together in community on this magnificent planet? I'm so thankful to be alive, so thankful to have this specking moment to just be here and express. So, Shelley, I think that I want to say thank you as well. Just, I know we dived in, you've been very transparent, but I also just want to acknowledge that, and for people out there, you know, that whatever, we had a dance this week, and I didn't know if he was going to be here, and I just want to say thank you for being here, and that it feels very, I feel quite emotional, but I also feel, yeah, very grateful that you are, you know, are here, and we got to this point, and we closed the series together, and we closed this circle together. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ah, wow. Look at me, man. I started differently. If you go to the beginning of the video and then come and look at me now, I look like I've been pulled through 3 bushes.
You have.
Every time I do these dives, I get to the end and I'm like, man, looks like I've like drunk 15 pints of beer and just been at the bar all night. Yeah. Took a dive into life and consciousness, and here I am. So one last thing is, if you didn't listen to that amazing meditation that Shelley posted under the video, it's going to be underneath the YouTube video. Check it out. It's a beautiful, maybe even after this now, put it on. I'm thinking of doing the same. Listen for 7 minutes. It's so beautiful. It's, you know, it's called the Great Bell Chant, and in brackets it's called the End of Suffering, and it's just so, just let's listen to that. I mean, I might even just play that. I might just play that now. Play it. Should we play that out? Should we just play that out and just sit together as an outward set? Yeah. As an outward.
As a community act of dropping into that compassionate, grounded place together.
Yeah. Let's let it all sink in. Everything that was shared here, whatever's needed or not needed, just like let's just all listen to this track. And if you're live, put it on. It's the links under the Google Plus page. And if you're on replay, press it under here. You don't even have to listen to it right now. I'm going to play it now. If you don't have a stereo, then you just listen to it. But let's do that. That'd be nice. Awesome. Okay, Shelley, after that, I'd say I'm going to just hang up. So I'll speak to you. And we're playing this as our outro, yeah?
Okay, sounds good.
It's just here. Thank you, everybody. And here we go. I tell you what I might better do. I'm going to try something. Let me quickly try something. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I'm sure if I do that and I do that. Are you seeing my screen now, Shell?
Actually, I was adding my logo, so no.
Sorry. You can see my screen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can you see the great bell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's do it. Thank you.
Rock and roll. Thank you, everybody. May you live a beautiful life of love and joy and dance in all aspects of yourself. Dark and light.
Tiếng chuông huyền diệu đưa về nhất tâm. May the sound of this bell penetrate deep into the cosmos. Even in the darkest spots, living beings are able to hear it clearly, so that all suffering in them cease, understanding come to their heart, and they transcend the path of sorrow and death. Im lặng thân tình theo tiếng chuông, nguyện người nghe tình thích vượt thoát nẻo đau buồn. The universal Dharma door is already open. The sound of rising tide is heard clearly. The miracle happens. A beautiful child appears in the heart of a lotus flower. One single drop of this compassionate water is enough to bring back the refreshing spring to our mountains and rivers. Nghe chuông phiền não tan mây khói, lặng thân an miệng mỉm cười. Hơi thở nương chuông về chánh niệm, vườn tâm hoa từng ngày xinh tươi. Listening to the bell, I feel the afflictions in me begin to dissolve. My mind calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath brings me back to the safe island of mindfulness. In the garden of my heart, the flowers of peace bloom beautifully. Phổ môn vọng tiếng kiểu dưng đã thơ xuất hiện giữa lòng đóa sen, cơm lộ một giọt rơi lên xuân về trên khắp mọi miền núi sông. Phổ môn vọng tiếng kiểu dưng đã thơ xuất hiện giữa lòng đóa sen, cơm lộ một giọt rơi lên xuân về trên khắp mọi miền núi sông. Lắng lòng nghe, lắng lòng nghe. Tiếng chuông huyền diệu nhất